We go in our garden, we admire the flowers and the trees. Those flowers and trees need water and sunlight in order to grow. And it has to be a great balance of the two. And just like that plant, God knows how much rain we can bear in our lives. And he knows just how much sunlight we need as well, just so that we can prosper. So God balances that rain and that sunshine in our lives, and he always does a great job. God promises to send deliverance, healing, breakthrough, and prosperity, but nothing happens in our time. Everything happens in his time. Now, as I was thinking of a way to deliver this word of encouragement, it dropped in my spirit. I was sitting in the kitchen at home, and anyone who knows me knows I love to cook. So I thought of a creative way that we can think of the different seasons that happen in the lives of a Christian. So everyone's heard of a crock pot? A slow cooker? So let's call the crock pot life.
All right.
Now, who better to orchestrate our lives than God? So let's call God our chef. So in order for the chef to create a culinary masterpiece, he needs a recipe, correct?
Correct.
So we'll call this recipe God's plan for our lives. Now we need a protein for this recipe as well. That's where we come into play. We're the prime ingredient when it comes to this recipe.
All right.
Now, God could just take us this protein. Let's say we're making a pot roast. You could just put that thing in the water and wash it off and clean up all the fat and get rid of everything you don't want. And just clean and rinse it. We'll call that rinsing process salvation. We could put that directly into the crock pot of life, but then we would be bland and flavorless. We wouldn't have testimony and witness. We wouldn't be able to tell anyone of what God has done in our lives.
Right.
And that wouldn't be the best reflection of our master chef, who is God. Matthew 5:13 declares that we are the salt of the earth. So we do need add a little seasoning, right? So now that seasoning represents our tests and trials. And they often bring about testimonies, and they serve to bring character and test our faith and hopefully set us apart from the rest of the world. So now we know that we have everything we need to make this recipe. So now our chef, who is God, puts us into this crock pot of life and allows the enemy to mess with us a little bit. He turns that heat up and starts to cook us. Now it's hot in that crock pot and the pressure is certainly on. Our bills are due. Our health may be failing. Our family members may be acting a fool, and the people at work are on your second to last nerve. Now this heat is becoming unbearable. It can be a miserable time when you're in this direct heat and not know when God is going to take you out. But the beautiful thing about this crock pot experience is that our master chef, King Jesus, he has the temperature and the time set just right. As soon as the timer on life's challenges become overbearing, he'll take us out just in time. And guess what? We won't be overcooked. We won't be in that pot too long. And certainly we won't be undercooked. He's not going to take us out too quickly.
Yes, girl.
We're going to emerge as this masterpiece, just the way that God intended for us to be. So while we're in expectation of our seasons of prosperity and the blessings of God, we should always remain mindful of Galatians, the 6th chapter and the 9th verse. And it says, and let us not be weary in well-doing, for in due season we shall reap if we faint not. Look at your neighbor, say, don't faint.
Don't faint.
Don't faint.
Don't faint.
Don't let those naysayers and the haters deter you from what God has promised you. Don't worry when your bills are outweighing your paycheck, because God is making a way. In Philippians, the 4th chapter and the 6th verse, it says, don't worry about anything. Instead, pray about everything. Tell God what you need and thank him for all that he's done. That right there deserves a clapping of the hands. Hallelujah. We must remember who we are and whose we are. And despite troubles and disappointments and trials, we should never forget to bless the Lord at all times.
Amen.
Praise is not something we do when we are feeling good and when we feel like we're rich in our pockets and everything's going good in our life. We should bless the Lord all the time, because God is worthy of the praise no matter what season we're in. I just want to share a testimony that happened to me yesterday. So I was going through a situation and it seemed like I didn't know how I was going to fix it. And we always hear people say, God's going to make a way, God's going to make a way. So right as I started to worry, God made a way. I mean, it happened instantly. So I'm driving, I had just picked the kids up from school, I'm getting on the highway and I'm singing, you deserve the glory, you deserve the honor. Yeah. Lord, I lift my hands in worship and I bless your holy name. Yes. But you are great, you do miracles so great.
Glory.
And just as I'm driving, it's just me and Jesus and I'm feeling wonderful. There's a car behind me and he must be in an extreme rush to get wherever he's going and he's tailgating me. And it seemed like he was trying to zigzag in between the lanes. And I was driving the pace, there was cars all around, so he decided he was going to get from behind me and get into that right lane because he thought it was moving faster than the lane we were in. Just as he went to get into that lane, all I could hear was this screeching sound of the brakes and 3 crashes. 3 crashes. When I looked into my rearview mirror, all I could see was that same car that was trying to zigzag in and out of traffic. He had flipped from the lane he was trying to get into all the way over to the lane that I had just passed by. And I just looked back and I said, God, you were so good. You were so good. That could have been me. He spared my life. So even when you're in your season, you may be in winter and you're not having everything you feel you need, God still protects you. And when you have life, you have another day, another chance to make it. Amen? So what are we supposed to do during these seasonal changes in life? As my pastor would say, I'm glad y'all asked. We have to grow in our seasons. We need to make the best of our seasons, but most importantly, we have to remember that God is always with us. Jeremiah 29:11 says, for I know the thoughts that I think towards you, saith the Lord, thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you an expected end. Now, if we're going to keep it real, in certain situations in life, we get so overwhelmed that we just don't know what to say when we're praying. And it's in those times that we should just position ourselves anyhow. Get down on your knees and just surrender yourself to God. Even when you don't have anything to say or don't know what to say, just get in place for a blessing. Yeah. 2 Chronicles, the 20th chapter, verse 17 says, set yourselves, stand ye still and see the salvation of the Lord with you. O Judah and Jerusalem, fear not, nor be dismayed. Now, it's hard when you're going through certain situations, after situations, to smile and put on a happy face. But, we have to be mindful that the world is watching us. Yes. The world is watching. We're under a constant microscope. And they may not be saved, but they heard us when we said we were saved. Yes. They know we're Christians sometimes better than we know. And please believe they're examining us with a fine-tooth comb. So a few questions. How are we supposed to win souls for Christ when we're looking down and out? Why would our coworkers and unsaved relatives want to come to Jesus when we're sitting around constantly complaining about how bad things are in our life? Oh, I have no money, I have no food, I'm not going to make it. Why do they want to serve a God whose people look like they're on their last leg of life? That's not what God has for us, people of God. 1 Peter 2:9 says, but ye are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a peculiar people, that ye should show forth the praises of him who hath called you out of darkness into his marvelous light. Simply put, whether we feel up to it or not, we have an obligation to uphold as ambassadors for Christ. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but this obligation is not based on what season you're in. Whether you have money, bless the Lord. If you don't have money, God is still good. You cannot withhold what God is due just because we're feeling like we're not ready, we're not able, we're down and out. God is yet worthy of all the glory and the honor. Yeah. We must remember that God never puts more on us than we can bear. Just like that example of the crock pot. He knows exactly when to deliver us. He knows exactly when to end the trouble that we're facing day to day. He knows exactly when he's going to bring us out and we're going to come out as pure gold. Yes. So in closing, 'tis the season to rejoice in the God of our salvation.
Yeah.
'Tis the season to praise our way out and be encouraged. When no one else tells you you can make it, you tell yourself you can make it. Because we serve a God who is more than able. Amen? 'Tis the season to make a joyful noise unto the Lord. It's not just about praise and worship, that segment of the service that we all look forward to when we're clapping and we're happy. You got to carry that praise every day. Just as I was driving and singing, you deserve the glory and the honor. That was my praise and worship. And God spared my life. And I promise you, keep praising and worshiping God. There's a blessing on the other end of that. 'Tis the season to expect a miracle. Even when it looks impossible. You can't fix it. Your mother can't fix it. But God can fix it. And He's going to make a way. 'Tis the season to experience the favor of God. Favor is literally unmerited favor, unmerited grace. You don't deserve it, but God still gives it to you anyway. And that's the type of God we serve. Even when we're not deserving, we didn't do anything to get it, but God still gives it. That's why we owe Him a praise.
Hallelujah.
Don't focus on life's problems, but instead focus on the solution. His name is Jesus. And truly, He is the reason for the season. God bless you all.